Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of SEO from Home with WooRank's SEO team. I'm Courtney. I will be hosting and moderating all of the questions. Sam and Adam, take a minute to introduce yourself, please.
Hey, so I'm Sam, Head of Technical SEO at WooRank, and I'm here to answer your questions today.
Hi there, my name's Adam. I'm also I work for WooRank and I'm Head of SEO Services. So hopefully I can answer your questions as well.
Wonderful. So before we get started with the questions coming in from everyone that has been submitting questions, first thing to say, we are still in COVID times, so if you hear any washing machines or dogs barking, or if our internet gets a little bit fuzzy, it's because we're still not back in the office, so thank you for staying patient with us. And then the other thing is that we are going to start off with a question that we have been getting pretty much since we've added this criteria into our review, and that is about open graph tags. So before we take your questions that you've submitted, we're going to take a minute to just explain what open graph tags are, why they matter, and how to actually implement that. So Adam, would you mind taking this one?
Absolutely. Okay, open graph tags. Yeah, a great question that comes up again and again. So a quick summary, I guess. Social media, creates a lot of traffic. It creates a vast amount of traffic, particularly Facebook and Instagram, and it has been growing and growing for years and years. So Facebook originally came up with the idea of creating a series of tags similar to tags called Open Graph, and it would actually allow them to read information and take information from web pages, from articles, from pictures, and sort of create a better thumbnail when you share content. So you might know that if you paste a URL into a Facebook post, it'll then go and fetch an image, it'll fetch the title, it'll fetch the description and that kind of thing. So that was really where Open Graph started. Open Graph is also pretty much universally been adopted by other social networks, although that said, Twitter has its own. Twitter has cards that they use, but Open Graph was the first one, so it is used by a lot of different systems today. And I guess a lot of people will ask, well, what part of Open Graph should they implement? I really want to just focus on kind of the top 5 things, because there are a lot of different tags to have a look at, a lot of different types of Open Graph. But think about this the same way you would if you were optimizing a web page. First of all, the title. This is going to define your content's title when you share it on social media, or when it gets shared on social media. So you want to make sure that the title represents the content well, and that it's catchy. The URL, of course, this should be the canonical URL to where the content sits, somewhere on your website, so that's pretty straightforward. Then there's a type, and this probably creates the most confusion, but the easiest way to think about the OG type or Open Graph type is your content a blog? Is it a video? What kind of category does it belong to? Now you can actually go to our website, and we'll post a link, ogp.me, and you can see all the different types there. So you just define the type that's the closest to your content. Then you have the description, of course, and this is just like a meta description. If you're sharing normal content anywhere, it's going to be it's part of the HTML, and it's going to show up in your website content when it's shared across. Finally, you have the image. Now, the image should be quite large, about 1,200 pixels by 625 pixels. That way, it will actually be shared, and it can be resized on just about any network. And that's really that. Going on for half an hour, that's really the summary of OG tags.
Okay, great. And we do, if you guys have problems or issues with the Open Graph tags, if you see an error in your report, just email support or email one of us, and we can certainly help you get that sorted out. And I've also added the link that Adam mentioned into the chat. So moving right along, if you have any questions, of course, put it in the chat as well. But moving right along, we're going to throw Sam a pretty technical question now. Sam, are you ready?
I am, yes.
Okay. So this comes in from Scott, and he says, Page insights and render blocking Google fonts are a recurring problem. Every time I think I've set the display property or replaced the font, a blocking Google font reference ends up reappearing in another update, shared resource, or cached file. This seems like such a simple fix on the Google side, but it's a recurring plague for our insights performance. What am I missing?
Yeah, so you're right, it is a pretty technical one. And from what I understand, it comes from, there's a delay that's caused by having to fetch the CSS file from the Google Font server before your page fully loads. So there's actually, so that Google and I think it's Google and Typekit co-developed the web font loader, and then this can be used, you can basically run this little script and it can be used to help run, I think it pulls the Google font in asynchronously so that everything can run together. So I'm going to get Courtney to add a link in there. And there's also an article that I found that pretty much explains a nice way of implementing this as well. So hopefully that answers your question. But it is something that I've noticed a lot, so it's something I'll be trying out myself.
Okay, while I'm adding these links, why don't we take a live question from Monica. Monica wants to know how important schema code is.
Do you want me to answer this, Adam, or I'm happy to if you want?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So schema markup is used to build basically nowadays when you search for anything in Google, you see all these extra kind of featured snippets within the search results. So you don't just see normal 10 blue links anymore. A lot of these are pulling extra information from the page. So using schema, you can kind of mark up your page with lots of different pieces of information to give Google more information about the page. So an example of if you've got a product page and you've got reviews where users can leave reviews, you can use the aggregate rating schema, and you can basically say, what the review score is, so the number of the star rating, what the actual review is, and all the extra bits of data for all of the reviews, and then Google can then use this one little nice review in the search results. So you might see, I don't know, let's say you've got Ray-Ban sunglasses, you'll see your result up there will have stars, and it's more likely to get clicked because people can see more trust in there and they can see what the user's saying. So that's one example. There's lots of different examples in there. You can just Google, if you Google schema markup, there's a lot of information you can get from Google on that. So yeah, hope that's answered your question.
Well, I do have a bone to pick with Google right now because my Google Doc has frozen. So sorry for everyone who's been waiting for this link that Sam and now I think that the next question we had was also about open graph tags. It's just loading right now. So let's give old Google another minute here. Okay, so here we go, loading up. Anybody that has any other questions you didn't submit in advance, feel free to throw them into the chat and we can keep Adam and Sam on their feet today. I think we had another question just at the very beginning from 3D Orbit Studio, just while my doc's loading. What are the most influential factors affecting SEO in 2020? I know that's kind of a loaded question, but do you guys want to field that one while I deal with my technical difficulties?
Sure, yeah. Hello, welcome. Actually, one of our clients, so it's nice to have you along tonight. It's a really good question about the most important factors, and I feel that when people ask that question, they kind of expect, us to sort of drop a golden bomb and say, did you know it was actually this or this, something new? But really, when we get down to it, Google is really, really good at iterations. It's really, really good at slowly making itself better and better. So what I find today, the most important factors were actually the same many years ago. There's definitely been some new additions, especially in the last 5 years or so. The absolute importance of having your website mobile, not just mobile friendly, but mobile perfect, is really important. But look, the top things are content. You need to have a technically proficient website, a website that loads fast. It's navigable. It makes sense to the user. It's easy for them to find what they're looking for and get in contact. And I guess maybe start off with you need to have backlink profile, and that's probably one of the harder ones to get.
Okay, perfect. My Google Doc has loaded, but it's still not letting me copy or paste anything, so I have to speak to someone at Google about this. All right, so the follow-up of the Open Graph structured data question has to do with structured data, Open Graph protocol. Is it better to use our website product title and description copy to populate the OG title and OG description, or the title tag and meta description?
Okay, yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so that's a good question. And actually, a lot of I was looking at some of the different website builders out there, and they do this by default anyway. So if you don't actually declare an OG title or description, they pull in your title tag and meta description. Also, a lot of social media platforms do that as well. So if you didn't have any OG tags and a piece of content on your site was shared on Facebook, for example, they're probably going to pull in your title tag and meta description anyway. So I guess if you've got a site that has lots and lots of pages, so you might have like an e-commerce site that's got thousands of products, you're not going to want to go in every single one and have to write an individual OG title and OG description. So you can just pull those in automatically, and that's not a problem at all. If you have got less pages, then maybe you might want to tailor that content slightly for whatever audience you're looking to. So you might have a slightly different kind of tone of voice on Facebook or on Twitter that you might want to use. But generally, I wouldn't have a problem personally in pulling them on automatically.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Sam. Still having some technical difficulties, so I'm just going to be typing questions into the comments here. So the next one that we have is from Dean, and this one goes out to Adam. So Dean has recently launched his new website for his startup. So what should he really be doing daily or maybe weekly to steadily improve his website?
Okay. Well, hi, Dean. If you're watching, congratulations on the startup. It's a really exciting time when you're launching a new business, particularly with the website. Well, I think it is anyway with the website. So the one piece of advice that I can honestly share, and look, it comes from my own experience. It's a word that I picked up in a workshop once myself, and I thought, I'm going to use that. And it's a Japanese word called Kaizen. I may not be saying it correctly, but that's how it's written. But what it basically means is making small adjustments again and again and again. So making small changes to your pages and monitoring the impact that those changes make, say using analytics or some other tool, and then more and more changes. So if we basically look at WooRank as that's the sort of tool that it is. It's great for a brand new website. You can actually scan a page. You can then fix, say, 2 or 3 of the issues that show up on the review, and then you can hit refresh. And what you'll notice is that the score will go up. And over time, if you can do this to all of your pages, in theory, you're going to get an A-rated website. So my best advice is Kaizen, small changes incrementally, and work your way through each page of your website over time. Don't feel like you have to kind of SEO the whole thing in one sitting. SEO is something you'll do to your website probably ongoing for the life of the website.
So Dean is watching. He says, thank you for the answer. All right, let's go ahead and take other live question. This one is from Frankie. So Frankie is tapping into our favorite topic, page speed. My WordPress website is pretty slow. Loading the full homepage needs around 5 to 7 seconds. Is that impacting the SEO ranking a lot, or is WordPress website's loading time slow and bad for SEO?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one, Sam.
Well, I certainly can.
A lot of my clients. Yeah. WordPress. Look, love-hate relationship with WordPress. I love it that it makes it so easy to create a brilliant website. But one of the things you need to watch with WordPress websites is that they can get a little bit dragged down by all the plugins. So every time you add a new plugin and you're browsing the plugin store and you're like thinking, oh, that sounds great, gee, that's going to take care of the OG for me, that's going to take care of my Twitter card, this one will take care of analytics, and et cetera, et cetera. Before you know it, you've got 20 or 30 different plugins. First of all, you've got to hope that they all play nicely together, and that they aren't doubling up in code, but more often than not, they will. So this page load time on a WordPress site, well, from an SEO point of view, we can normally tell WordPress websites by that 3 to 5 second delay. Does it hurt? Yes, technically it does. Oh, I just lost my lights. Sorry.
It's all right. We can still see you.
I'm back. So yeah, look, Google says very clearly in all of its writing that if your website takes longer than about 2 seconds to load, it's not that happy with you. So 3 to 5 seconds, that's not too bad. If it was taking 15 seconds, even worse. But the best thing you can do with WordPress is just cut out any unnecessary plugin. That's a great place to start, and there's a lot of other optimizations that you can do with WordPress.
Yeah, I think that this is probably a good opportunity for us to maybe just do a PageSpeed webinar. There's so many questions that people have about it that we could really maybe do something a little bit more specific. So if you're interested in that, just let us know in the comments.
Yeah, just to add as well, I mean, Google's now recently launched the Core Web Vitals reports, which you can find in your Google Search Console account, that shows they're taking it much more seriously. And then as of next year, they're going to start including those within their Google ranking algorithm. They've already got speed in the Google ranking algorithm. So there's a lot you can do. There's also a lot of plugins you can use that will do a lot of optimizations for you with WordPress. So that's really handy. So, you can kind of shrink your images automatically, or they kind of reduce CSS files or JavaScript files, that kind of thing. I'm actually going to just add a little plugin there for a blog post that we have on WordPress site speed. So I've just added that now to the chat. So feel free to check that out as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Do you guys want to take one other live question? We have a lot of live questions coming in. So, so Melbourne Health Psychology Center, Melbourne, sorry, I said it wrong again this Melbourne. I have a question in relation to balancing technical information and explanation with keywords on the page. Is there recommendations for the optimal / maximum page length?
Okay. That's so many questions I have long answers for. My first advice there is to check out your top competitors and actually have a look at how much content is in their pages. That's usually a good, especially if they're ranking high, that's a good indicator that they're doing something right. Because what you'll find is particularly with SEO, if you go to an SEO person's website, you'll notice that they have about maybe 1,000 or 1,500 words and maybe several hundred keywords with really high density. Now that works for SEO websites, but that wouldn't work for, say, a lawyer's website. And just with the technicality as well, if you have a technical industry, you have to make sure that the keywords that you're using are keywords that your clients would be searching for, and not just, sometimes your clients, what you think they might be searching for, they might not be. So this is where you can use some search tools from Google just to check that A, I am using the right sort of search terms in my content, and B, have a look at your competitors and get an idea, a feel for how much content should be on a particular page. Sam, did you want to, what do you think about that?
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, I just paused you for a second. No, that completely makes sense. I agree.
Are we boring you, Sam?
No, I'm muted, you see. So trying to find the mute button.
All right, let's move on to some of the questions that have already been asked pre-submitted. So this one comes in from Francis, and Sam, I'm going to ask you to handle this one. So Francis says that the site was doing really well with about 120 to 300 real-time visitors throughout the day. Then out of the blue, the traffic completely dropped for Francis to less than 50 real-time users. No matter what Francis tries, this does not seem to improve. Situation has not improved for over a year, considering shutting down the site. What can Francis do to bring back her numbers? Or his numbers, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a common question. I mean, it's really hard to that website. And often the only advice they really give us is great content. Sometimes you can kind of read around to find a bit more about it. It might have been around, it was to do with sort of local links and that thing. So it might be worth getting in contact with like an SEO expert and getting somebody to run an SEO audit so that they can dig into all of the ins and outs of the website to see if there's anything that has been done that might be causing an issue that Google might suddenly think that you're no longer a good result. You can also run a WooRank review, obviously, and we'll check lots of different things for you and highlight any issues that you've got. And you can use the WooRank crawler if you've got an account with us. And again, we take a deeper dig into the rest of your website, and we can spot any issues there. And also, as a final thought, I'd definitely look into your Google Analytics account and your Google Search Console account, because this will allow you to see, was it like the whole website that was affected, that you lost traffic to, or was it just particular areas of it? What kind of keyword rankings have you got now or what keywords have dropped? Is there anything specific on those pages that might be causing a problem? Is Google actually able to access your pages? So you can get all of that kind of information from Google Search Console and Google Analytics as well.
Right. Nice WooRank plug there too.
No problem.
All right. So next question is in from Eric. Eric says, as someone who knows nothing about SEO, what are ways that I can modify my pages and start ranking in the searches? Now, I just want to say I'm going to tack on one of the live questions that is super similar. So I got a live question that asked, when adding a new page, what should be taken in consideration besides content? So I think these questions work pretty well together. So basically, what do I do?
Okay. All right. So well, first of all, if you know nothing about SEO, but you've found your way along to WooRank or to tonight's live stream, that's a great start. All right. So I'm going to have to go back to my favorite, the page audit. And because you're sort of saying, besides content, what are the things that you can tackle straight away through a content management system? It would have to be going through a page audit. So if you have WooRank, if you have Wix, if you have Weebly, whichever content management system, you're going to be able to make a lot of changes, probably not all the changes without getting technical, but most of them through the content management system. So the best thing to do is run the page audit, start with that, and like I said sort of earlier on, just really start from the top and work your way down. Generally the most important things are like the page title, the page heading. Do you have a keyword before the name of your business, or are you sort of using the H1 tag or the title tag as just the name of your business? So those kinds of things are really important and actually have a big impact on your website. And when you do a page audit and you update them and you fix them and you see your score go up, that's kind of a nice, indication that you're on the right track.
Yeah, it's a good little confidence boost too when you see your score
Yeah.
go up.
Yeah.
Right, let's take one more from our pre-submitted. So this one comes from our friend Stephanie. Stephanie's working on getting better specific keywords for her blogs, but many focus around the same topic, but from different angles. Is it bad to have multiple blog articles with the same main keyword?
Okay, hi Stephanie. So yeah, it is really common, obviously, to have a lot of content that addresses very similar content or very similar topics, should I say. But it can be a bit of an issue when you run into keyword cannibalizations. This is where you've got lots of pieces of content that are all, like you say, trying to rank for exactly the same keyword. So I think, well, basically Google now they restrict you to having 2 links from the same domain within the search results within one SERP. But the problem is when your content starts competing against each other, and then rather than having like one piece of content that's joining forces and combining all of the authority in one, you've got lots of separate things that it's diluting the authority out. So my advice there is to probably have one main piece of content that you're going to try and rank for the particular keyword, and then you might have some other keyword variations, so like longer tail keywords around that, and then you can have other blog posts that kind of address those or answer the questions around those variations, and they would then link to the main piece of content. So it's known as like the hub and spoke approach. So if you Google hub and spoke content approach, you'll see some more information about that, and I find that works pretty well for us.
All right, we have a few live questions, so let's go ahead and take some of them. So we have a live question from Praveen, who wants to know if changing the WordPress theme actually affects SEO results.
Adam, is that one
yeah.
you might know?
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good question, because that's something that I've worked through with a client just recently, yes, it can. Unfortunately, the WordPress themes themselves can actually contain a lot of the, let's call it the SEO code, or let me give you an example. The recent client of mine had put into the theme itself, the analytics code went into the header, but it all belonged to the theme. Even things like the OG meta tags and everything was all based on the theme. So they actually decided to update their theme one day. And I got a call from them saying, oh dear, we've broken our website. I went and had a look at it, but not only are we talking about an SEO issue here, but their site actually went offline. So it created 404s, it created 500 server errors. It was just a big nightmare, because what seemed so simple, changing the theme, the client hadn't thought that, oh dear, their web designer had actually put everything into that theme. So I would, if you got WordPress, I would recommend that you never change the theme unless you really know what you're doing, and definitely take a backup before you do if you're going to play with that. So yes, it absolutely can, by that way.
I suppose another thing to add also is that some themes are very JavaScript heavy, so they could have issues with crawling. Also, other themes could have huge image files, or slow things down a lot, which obviously has a negative effect on SEO as well. So we've got that angle as well.
Absolutely, don't do it.
Okay, I have a softball question here for you SEO experts. What does bounce rate mean?
Yeah, good question. So, well, bounce rate would come from Google Analytics, and basically it means that somebody's come to your page, and then they've left the page and gone back to Google without really interacting with the page. So usually that's a bad sign, because it means that somebody probably didn't find what they were looking for. But equally, some content, it's natural that the user would only look at that piece of content. So let's say, for example, you're looking at how to optimize my title tags. You find a nice article about that. You can have a quick read through it, and then you get the answer, and then you leave again. Well, the user's got what they were looking for, but it shows as a bounce. So it's not something to follow sort of completely, but at the same time, it does give you a good indication of whether your users are happy. I hope that answers it for you.
Certainly. Okay, so we do have some questions here that are kind of more broad, like what good resources do you have for SEO? Do you have a list of technical SEO factors? Because we're getting so many good live questions coming in, and we also have some more specific questions that have been pre-submitted, anyone that asks about those questions, like the resources or the checklist, I'm just going to email you directly at the end of this webinar with the answers, and I'll also tweet them out for anybody else who's interested in learning about that stuff. Okay, so moving on to a question from Karani. Adam, this one's for you. So Karani has a new website, and how can Karani build quality backlinks in a very simple way?
Okay, backlinks, my favorite topic. I just say that because, the technical stuff we can fix. Content, you can write great content, but that third part of the pyramid really is the links. Okay, so how do we build some backlinks? Well, first of all, I will plug WooRank. We do have an SEO guide on how to build links for SEO, so we'll post that to the chat. But to dig into that and summarize, essentially, I would say to write and share content that answers questions that people ask. For example, and I always say this in a workshop because we never have a plumber along to a workshop, but if you're a plumber, you might write an article about how to fix a leaky tap. That might sound silly, but people look for these sorts of things on Google. Now, you can write the content in such a way that, first of all, you don't have to come across salesy. You're just answering the question. You have to go outside. You have to turn the mains water tap off. Then you have to go down to your local hardware store and buy this tool and this, that, and the other. Do this, do that. In one way, you can kind of encourage the people reading the article to go, okay, well, this is informative, so it's great for SEO. There's a good chance that they're going to share it, but you've also got a chance that they're going to, actually go, this sounds a little bit too hard. I might just get in contact with you. You seem to know what you're talking about. But look, that's a great way to, to write great content, and just share it. Guest blogging services, probably not as popular as they used to be, but if you can find a relevant space that matches your industry, and I really have to encourage you to not stray there, you could definitely find out if they're willing to accept good content. So if you are good at writing content, that's really the hard part of the job done. And lastly, I would just say, for quick starters, business directories. So yellow pages, white pages, they all often have a free listing option. My only warning there is don't copy and paste the content from your about page to 50 directories, because then you'll be creating 50 duplicates of your content and diluting your own content down. I think between that and if you read the guide on WooRank, that'd be a great start to building some backlink in the first few days.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, this is something that we get questions about like a lot. So maybe that's something that we could also do kind of a specific webinar about. And also, if you're subscribed to our newsletters for the last month and for the next month, we're doing all things backlinks. So sending you guides, sending you advice, how to audit, how to evaluate them, how to build backlinks for easy strategies. So that's all available for you as well. All of it's on our blog, all of it's on our SEO guides, and of course, you can always pick our brains if you need to. Okay, moving on. So another question from Stephanie. So Stephanie says, HubSpot has amazing organic reach. I feel every time I look something up related to marketing, they come up. We know. Is the mass amount of content the big factor there, or are they really just great at keywords? Any insight there would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, I'll pick this one up. So yeah, it's true that HubSpot do have a huge amount of visibility, and they do have a huge amount of content. They've written about, they're seen as an authority in the kind of marketing space, and then all of the different pieces they're covering are obviously picking up lots of keywords along the way. So that's why you're probably seeing them a lot in there. The lesson that we can take from this kind of strategy is to write content that addresses your audience's needs. So everything you're searching for, you're a marketer, they're obviously answering for you. So if you're able to do that for your audience, then you're much more likely to be ranking. And then to be able to do this, keyword research is obviously really important in there. So understanding what your audience is ranking for. We've got a blog post, I think we might have already added it in actually, about free keyword research tools. If not, I'll dig it out. So you can use that. Another thing that I would do is when you're looking at a keyword that you do want to target, check the SERPs, make sure that you're likely to be able to rank for these terms, because if you're seeing a lot of Wikipedias and HubSpots in there and you've got a much smaller site, then it might be more difficult for you to get in there. But then if you sort of find a slight variation of that keyword that's not quite as competitive, maybe it's got slightly lower search volumes, but it's more realistic for you to go after, then you can check that out. So I hope.
Yeah, okay, good. I had just now a live question about page loading speed again. So Top Job VN, we are going to schedule a webinar where we just specifically talk about page speed, so that hopefully we can get to all of your answers there. All right, now if we move on, it's not scrolling again for me. All right, so Katie Hamilton would like to know, this is her question, scroll back up, Google, come on. We run a niche site about home improvement jobs that compare the cost of doing it yourself with hiring a contractor for the work. So Katie's question is, for mobile SEO, what is the most important keywords, meta tags, or page description?
Okay, I'll pick that one up as well. Yeah, so I mean, they're really important, to be honest, and they all kind of work together. So for example, like your title tag should include the top target keywords in there. So first you've got to do the keyword research, find out what keywords you want to target. Including those, the title tag is really important, because the title tag is still like one of the most important parts of SEO, because it shows Google exactly what the topic of the page is about. You want to make sure that all of your title tags are unique as well, and they try and keep them under 60 characters. And then the meta description, while it's not really a ranking factor in Google, I think it is actually in Bing, but not in Google. So basically, including your keywords within the meta description makes them appear in bold when they match the user search query. So if you were searching for Ray-Ban sunglasses, you'd see the list of all the results. Then if it's been included in the meta description, you'll see it show up in bold. So it's kind of more likely that people are going to click on that because it stands out more for you. So yeah, I hope that answers it. But they're all very important. They all work together. There's no one sort of part to that.
Great. Adam, this next question is a really good follow-up to what you were talking about before with backlinks. So once we figure out some good websites with high domain authority, how can I get my website link on them? And should those websites necessarily be blogs?
Okay. Yeah. Great follow-up question. The most important thing about getting a link from another website really is the relationship. Well, I guess first of all, you need to build a relationship with the site that you're going to get a link from. Business directories are one thing because you can just go on and sometimes you can pay a fee and you can get a link put up there. Now, don't be fooled. Google knows that that's occurred. It knows that this website has 300,000 outward links and that it charges for them. So that's not going to be as much value. However, if you can build a relationship with a site that makes sense and you can get a link on that, it's going to do a whole lot more good for you than 1,000 links from these other sites. So just as an example, if you're a shoe repair shop and you had a backlink from a jewelry website because they were your friend, and you said, hey, can you give me a backlink? That's actually not going to help you. You need to have, links coming from places, perhaps the supplier of your shoe soles. I'm really digging deep now because I don't know much about shoemaking, but yeah, I mean, perhaps your supplier, you can ring them up and say, hey, I've been your client for 15 years. You've supplied me. Can I have a link, on your website? That would make sense to Google. So that is going to be a lot more valuable. So it really comes down to not whether it's a blog or whether it's homepage or something, but whether the page and the content on that page makes sense, that it's got a link from their page to your page. It has to be in context.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. I also have another question that's coming in live that I think another softball for you guys. Does the image tag play a role in SEO?
I'm not sure if maybe he means the image alt attribute.
I think, yeah, let's just, I guess, assume that we're talking about all attributes here.
Okay, well, if we go after the alt attribute, so, I mean, yes, it is really important. Google still has a hard time understanding the content within an image. So providing an alt attribute basically gives an extra bit of information about the image, some context for the image. And then if it was on a page and you were trying to rank for a particular keyword and it made sense to include that keyword within the alt attribute, it's just another little hint to Google that it's relevant for that keyword, and maybe you can get yourself ranking there for that.
Great. Okay, next one, one of the pre-submitted. What are the new SEO updates? Adam, do you want to take that one?
Okay. All right. Well, I laugh just because Google literally updates every day. What happened today? No, but most recently we probably have the Google Page Experience update, where it was mentioned before by Sam. So Google Search Console now has a section in it called Core Web Vitals, and it's really good because from Google's point of view, they've always been a bit sort of cloak and dagger about what makes sense and what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and we're not going to tell you. But Core Web Vitals is like, it's out there. It's saying this is exactly what you should do. This is in our algorithm. This is affecting how we view your website. So, why someone would not focus on the experience that their page delivers in terms of performance and speed and loading times and all that kind of stuff. I would have to say, that is one of the most recent updates. We also had what we call a broad core update in May. So these happen maybe 3, 4, 5 times a year, sometimes less, sometimes more. Now, these aren't so much well defined in terms of they're like a little aspect that we can tell you exactly what they are, but the sign that one of these has occurred is what we call SERPs, or the rankings of keyword. When we're sort of following thousands of keywords or hundreds of thousands of keywords, we can actually see that there will be a major shakeup in where people's search terms are ranking. From my point of view, it's when I get a call from a client saying, I just went from page 3 to page 1. thanks for that. And I'm like, oh, yep, no problem. That was me. And it's just because there's been a broad core update, which Google has kind of, picked up that magic ball and shaken it and decided that for whatever reason, this is how the SERPs are going to be now. But my advice there too is don't get too excited, because they often make changes and you see yourself drop away again. I guess the point from all this is that when it comes to Google, the best thing you can do is follow the tried and true good SEO practices, good content, build a good link profile like we've talked about, and do the right thing. Don't try and take any shortcuts.
Very good advice. I think we have time for one more of our pre-submitted questions coming in from Mike. Now, this is, I think, a perfect question to wrap up this webinar. What is SEO strategy, and how do you ensure that you have a sound SEO strategy in place?
Okay, I'll take this one. So thanks for the question, Mike. So an SEO strategy is just basically a plan of a lot of list of tasks that you want to work through to improve how your website appears in the search engines. Normally, this would start with some keyword research. So you want to, as I mentioned earlier, you want to identify what your audience is looking for, and you want to find the keywords that have search volumes behind them. So there's no point in trying to optimize around a keyword that only gets like 10 searches a month, because you're probably not going to get much business from that. So and then also, going after something that's realistic for your website. So you wouldn't want to necessarily go after the term, let's say you've got like a gift store, you wouldn't go after the term gift, because obviously that's a huge term, and lots of other websites potentially could rank for that. But if you're going after, a more long tail keyword, then you can obviously target those. So that brings you onto the content strategy. How are you actually going to target the keywords you've identified? So you want to think about the pieces of content that you're going to develop to rank for those, and then you need to think about the base SEO, on-page SEO that kind of goes alongside that. So you need to know how to create the content in a way that you're going to be able to rank for these terms. So we've obviously got plenty of guides out there, and there are lots of other guides out there on the web on SEO best practices, on content strategy, on keyword research. I'll get Courtney to add a link in actually about our top 4 steps around an SEO strategy as well. And then other things that you obviously want to be looking at as well, like Adam was saying earlier, the backlink strategy. That can be a difficult one, and my advice there is, Adam's advice as well, don't take any shortcuts. So backlinks are an area where you can really benefit from great links, but because of that, Google also understands that people will try and sort of play the system, and that's where you can really get into trouble as well. And it can lead you in actually getting penalized by Google. So if you ever think you may have been penalized by Google, you can check out your Google Search Console account, and there's like a manual actions section in there, and it'll tell you if you've been given any manual actions. But there's also algorithmic penalties as well. So it may be that Google's algorithms are seeing that you're doing something you shouldn't be, and they'll play you down for that. But yeah, so hopefully I've covered most of the points there.
I think so. Yes, and I've already sent that link into the chat for everybody that was interested. I think we have time for one more live question. So we have one more live question. How to do SEO if keywords don't have enough search volume? Is there any other alternative solution for
okay, so this might be for like a very niche industry, then I take it? Because if that were the case, I mean, if you're looking at search volume alone and you're getting that information from Google or Google Ads or something like that, that is, I would see that as an opportunity as an SEO person. Low search volume tells me that the strategy here is you want to get a low search volume target, but it has high search value. And again, speaking from past experience, with very particular SEO strategies or SEO tools, that kind of thing, a lot of our keywords might have a low search volume, but we're pretty much guaranteed that if someone types that in and they go to the website page that we want them to, that they're going to convert. So, I mean, really the method is the same. You follow the same SEO strategies as you would with a high search volume. But really, if you're on the right target, and it's not low search volume just because it's the wrong keyword, but you can confirm that this is something that your clients are typing, you've actually got a better chance of ranking high for them. I would say, look, and again, that's something that you'd look on a case-by-case basis, and I'm making some assumptions there, so apologies if I got that wrong.
No, I think that's good. I just want to throw one more over to Sam. This is our last live question, then we'll say goodbye. Is link exchange a good practice?
Yeah, that's a common question. I would not recommend link exchange. I mean, if you're linking to each other purely to try and to get the link juice, so a follow link, that's against Google's guidelines. So it's something that was done a lot in the past, but it's been many years that Google's been saying don't do this. They say that in their guidelines as well, don't do this, and they have pretty smart ways of seeing when it's happening. So it's not something I would recommend. If you're just doing it to try and help each other, like you've got another industry, or you've got another business in a similar industry, and you want to just kind of share traffic, or say help your users out by sending them to this other tool that you've got, then that's fine if you add a no follow tag on there as well. But yeah, so I wouldn't recommend it just for the link purpose and getting the link juice.
Yeah, so anyone who's thinking about emailing me after this for a WooRank link exchange, just fast forward to this part of the video. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you, everyone, for being so engaged and sending in your questions on the chat, sending them in beforehand. We, of course, will see you again next month. If we didn't get to your question or you didn't hear it answered, I'll either email you, or everything that you've asked I'm going to be putting on our Twitter. So just feel free to let us know. You could always email support@woorank.com if you have a question about the tool, or if you just need some help. Courtney@woorank.com, Sam@woorank.com, Adam. I'll actually just put yours in there because you have your last name in there.
Mine's complicated.
Yeah, but if you want to just email us and ask some questions, please feel free, and we will try to get that PageSpeed webinar scheduled for you guys. So thank you again, and we'll see you again next month.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care.